All right, Benji. Well, we are here for episode 8. Episode 8. Look, I'm glad we got this one in. I was worried. I feel like we've said it the past couple episodes, but it's just been a busy summer.
You know, a lot of times people think summertime slows down for the family and all, but obviously there's travel. People are traveling on vacation. You're traveled. I'm traveled. We travel together. It's been nonstop.
It's been fun. We did, we've had a lot of good stuff. You heard us talk about it in our last episode, but this past Sunday we got back from SERVPRO Convention at the time we're recording this. So we got back. Got back from convention in Tampa, Florida. First time in Tampa for me. I've been a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan since I was probably 12. I won't lie to you. I visited the stadium probably at least 3 or 4 times. Tried to drone it. I was very disappointed. I sent you and Sarah and my wife a text message, and it was nothing but the drone in my hand, and Raymond James Stadium behind me, and all Sarah said was, Benji and Brady said, if you get arrested, they're not bailing you out.
That's what happens when you have a no-fly zone.
Well, and it was a no-fly zone. I did not realize, so I have an app that I can keep track of it. It tells me, so it says that I probably shouldn't be admitting this on a podcast, but it says that you have to get special permission to take off. Mine is a drone that's considered that you don't have to have it registered.
Like a recreational style.
Yeah. But I do have my drone registered just for safety. We'll have to share that story about Cowboys airspace. Which that was a crazy situation when we were visiting our Dallas, Texas franchise. But it just wouldn't let me take off. I was disappointed. It's all I was looking forward to. I couldn't even take off. Couldn't even do it. So I did get some cool pictures on the ground, but I was disappointed. I was with our director of human resources, and Leo's like, "Will you just walk around and take some pictures? Like, quit sulking. Like, just take the pictures." I was sad.
I do have a claim to fame for Tampa, though. Besides the fact that our organization finished number 4 for 2022.
Number 4.
Very, very excited about where our team is, where they're headed, and congratulations to our entire organization for that amazing accomplishment.
It's a big deal, too, being in the top 100 this year for any SERVPRO franchise and any of the other franchises that do listen to podcasts. That's a massive accomplishment.
It really is. I remember real quick before I tell my Tampa story. I remember when number 101, this year did as much revenue as the top performer was 10 years ago.
I was going to say our director of commercial large loss, he posted that. He was like, I remember 10 years ago that it was like that. So it's just crazy to see just the progression and how big SERVPRO's gotten. So it's just cool.
Yeah,
it's cool.
The brand
your story. Share your story, Tampa.
I'm about to.
Okay.
But the brand is the number 1 in commercial cleanup and restoration and residential, and moving into the reconstruction number 1 progress. So it's going to be
a big year.
But here's my claim to fame. Okay, now I got to set the stage for this because there are some fans out there, I'm sure. By the way, thank you to all our listeners. Thank you. We appreciate you guys tuning in to the live show on YouTube or listening on whatever podcast platform. Yes. But I was walking out of a meeting, and I know still to this day you think I am lying. I am not lying.
Oh, my gosh. So, you're not going to share this story.
I'm sharing it. So I'm walking out of a meeting at Starbucks. Imagine that. I'm a big Starbucks fan. Pretty much get the same thing every time I go to Starbucks. But walk out, see another owner. Hey, how you doing? Hadn't seen you in a while. Shook his hand. I got a tap on my shoulder, and I turn around and look.
Tap on your shoulder.
I did. I promise. My brother was there. I had 2 other witnesses. No lie. I turn around, and this girl looks at me with she had a red sweatshirt on with a hoodie.
Get her name right.
I didn't. Let me preface by saying this.
You want me to say her name because you don't watch the show?
No. Hang on. I need to preface by saying I've never seen this show ever. Okay, so I didn't even know what she was talking about. I didn't even know what a name was for this show or anything. So that's what makes the story even more intriguing. So this girl taps me on the shoulder and she goes, "Hello, I was 11."
So bad.
She said, "I was 11 on Stranger Things," or something, in like an English voice. So I took it as, I thought she said, I was 11 years old when I was on Stranger Things. So I didn't even acknowledge the fact. I kind of just, I mean, she kind of looked a little spaced out, you know, whatever. I didn't really know what was going
She
on.
had a night of partying, is what you
Maybe
said.
so. Maybe so. I remember what her face looked like. I turned around and started talking to the gentleman again because I'll be honest with you, I thought that she was homeless or
It's
something.
Millie
And
Bobby Brown, Benji.
she
Millie
was
Bobby
trying to
Brown.
ask me something for money or what. I didn't know what was going on. So
You
anyway,
don't need none of our money.
I promise you, I turned around and started talking to the guy again. I looked over and she had started to walk off. Well, Sarah was across the parking lot, my wife, and she said, I saw that girl over there. And she asked me about it. And I was like, she said she was 11 on Stranger Things. And again, I'm referring to the age that she is.
Will
And
you
Sarah
say it in your
goes,
accent one more time as you were telling Sarah? Just the
no,
accent one more time.
I
One more
can't
time,
do that.
please.
The English accent's terrible. But she said, you met 11 on Stranger Things? I said, no. She said she was 11 on Stranger. She said, no. That's her name. And I said, I've never even watched the show. I don't know what you're talking about. And so we tell you that story, and you still think to this day that I'm lying.
Let me
I am
set
not.
this up for our listeners before we get to our topic. Let me set this up. So Wednesday
This is
night,
going somewhere with our topic.
Wednesday night, we had a team dinner, right? So we have this big team dinner. It was fantastic. We took a boat cruise. We were on a 3-hour cruise. Get it? 3-hour cruise. So we took a 3-hour
All right,
cruise.
Gilligan.
Our entire enterprise team's on it. It was amazing. We got to sit, hang out, talk. So dinner's over. We're sitting in there just all chatting and laughing. And Sarah walks over. She goes, "Oh my goodness, Adam, did Benji tell you who she saw today?" And then your brother, which this is where I do give you a little credit because he doesn't seem like the type to make these type of, he's bought in and he's trying to mess me up.
Hey, it was all unscripted. I'm telling you.
I wish people could have been on the boat because my face, like I was having a hard time. Your brother is like perked up. He's like, "No, Adam, this happened. This happened." So our listeners, they're trying to convince me that they saw Millie Bobby Brown in the middle of nowhere and she was like, she had too much to drink, I guess. I don't know.
So again, now that you've told that, okay, just so everybody understands, when she said she was 11 on Stranger Things, Sarah pulled up a photo of this girl and showed it to me, and I said, that looks really close to what that girl looked like. And then we showed the picture to Eric, who also works for us, and he said, Benji, that is exactly who that girl was, because he saw her too. So anyway, I met 11 with Stranger Things or whatever.
I don't know.
Hey, while we were down there, we had another SERVPRO franchise meet Ric Flair. He was down by the
You
river.
never told me this. Oh my goodness. Now
100%.
you're just trying to get me on the podcast
right
to
now.
believe this foolishness.
Hey, you go look up SERVPRO of Tuscaloosa, look up Jacob Corey and Albert Thompson. They saw Ric Flair down where we were docking waiting on our boat. But anyway, here's the point.
The point is every one of y'all is trying to make me look ridiculous, and I felt like that on the boat that night because everyone was against me, even the people that weren't there.
If you listeners could see right now, he actually has his phone looking on Facebook to see if he can find Ric Flair.
If you're watching the video on YouTube, he is lying.
True story. We did see 11 from Stranger Things. I don't know if she was a stunt dummy or whatever, but they did also see Ric Flair. Anyway, here's the purpose. SERVPRO is one big happy family.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're talking about this week. We're talking about it. What a strong impact.
Give me a second to transition from this.
Family ties can have in business, and it can go a long way for you.
Families, just for our listeners, just one more jab. Families can also try to make you look stupid in front of your entire team, which is what I felt like the other night. So, anyways, last thing I'll say, I don't believe you. I think it's a lie. You know, I heard Johnny Depp was down there too, and Tom Brady still has a house down there. Okay. But yes, anyway, so family ties, yeah. So family's big. I would that's definitely something I do agree with Benji on. SERVPRO system is, yes, we do have our friendly rivalries, the people that we try to beat and be better than, but ultimately we're all one team that we try to work together to better the brand. Which is a little bit what we talked about in the last one, is how important branding is. So we try to work together on that. But especially for our team, I feel like that's a big premise. Really on what it's based on, but I think a lot of that comes too from you and your brother, and then what your dad instilled in you guys from your family business. Now, the cool thing is for you guys, you got to see what it was like to have a business handed down to you. Your dad built it for years. I mean, for those that don't know, like Benji and Brady's dad was SERVPRO royalty. Like half the things that are done in our SERVPRO system came from the mind of Benji and Brady's dad. He was
Yeah.
so integral in a lot of those pieces that are still used today. So you guys got to actually experience what it's like to have something handed back down, to you to continue that legacy, which you've done, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it takes a
But
team to do it, but
it takes a team, but it has a lot of those family values, which really do contribute to a higher up life. And I think a lot of that too. I mean, even family also is. It doesn't have to be blood. It's the people that you have around. And I feel like that's
right.
also been a resounding theme in so many of our episodes. You are who you surround yourself with.
For sure, for sure. I mean, that has been a big thing for us. Obviously, we don't anticipate our kids taking over ServPro. It would be a long time before they were able to take over, an organization of our size. Just to be honest, but
Y'all would
you
be in
know,
it for a very long time.
yeah. I mean, it would because our kids are young. They're all young. Even my
Yeah,
brother's kids are young.
yeah,
That he just graduated. His oldest just graduated high school. My oldest will be graduating high school this coming year. So they've got a while. But the family in I guess foundation that my father built
hmm
into what we do today is, like you said, been trendsetters in the industry and ServPro specifically. Um, but it's that's, I believe, what helps make it successful. Now, a lot of
yeah,
people will say, "Can you do it without family?" Yes, absolutely. There are many businesses that can be done without
yeah.
family. But is it hard to work with family? It can be,
hmm
unless each of you have your roles and responsibilities. I was talking with someone about this about 2 weeks ago. Husband and wife have a business together, and they have to take it home with them, right?
Yeah.
Whereas me and my brother don't have to take it home with us, specifically me and him. We
You'll get
can
a
talk.
break from each other, basically.
We do. But there are times where we have to meet with me
hmm
and Sarah, and him and Melissa have to meet together
Yeah.
to talk about, what we're doing this year and how we're going to take things to the next level, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So it can be a good foundation. It can be tough to work with family, but it can also be very rewarding to work with family. And that's
Yeah.
where a lot of people think they miss the boat. The
Yeah.
husband and wife I was referencing to, they seem to work really well together because they have defined each other's roles and responsibilities, right?
hmm
If you try to work in the same lane of the other person, it's not going to work. It
hmm
doesn't matter if you're husband, wife, brothers, aunt, uncle, whatever the case may be. It's not going to work.
Yeah. Well, and you and Sarah worked together for a little bit, correct?
Yeah,
Until y'all started growing the family. I mean, like, well, I mean, that's basically how you met her.
yeah.
She wasn't she the receptionist at the time, or
Yeah, she was actually. I was going through a divorce at the time. She was going through a divorce, and honestly, obviously, we let all that stuff pass before we even
yeah,
started dating. But
yeah,
um, I met her at work, and we just one day were talking about, just small talk, about how it was going and all, and that's how we ended up meeting. We neither one of us had any interest in dating anyone or anything like that, and it just, after everything got final on both sides, we went out and talked about it, and rest is history. So
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of that because it builds also having that, like you said, yeah, you and your brother don't necessarily get to take things home, and you have that, but I think it also helps you build a level of integrity and trust,
absolutely,
and not just in each other because it's tough because I feel like sometimes you're more honest with your family than anyone else. I mean, I mean, even with my mom, my dad, my sister, I don't feel like as much as Emily, mostly because I'm scared of her. But I have a, I have a shorter fuse with them. Emily just scares me. For y'all that don't know, my wife is from Morris. You have hit her hometown when you hear the beer cans jingling from the porch decks because that is their wind chimes. So, yeah. So that is, I always joke with her that when she gets mad, her accent gets thicker. Like,
oh,
and she's already, I mean, even when you hear her now, she's got a very thick accent. But yeah, so I think a lot of that builds into it. But I mean, I feel like I have a shorter fuse. I think that, that's the other side of it is you're having to learn to work with your family because you feel like you can say more. I think our team is fairly honest with each other, but there's people on my team that I feel like I can say things, even if I get a little upset. But then I also know there's people on my team that I can't. So I feel like that actually makes it harder for you working with family because the two of you
Yeah.
can be more honest with each other. Not in a way to I don't feel like you're trying to purposely downgrade or put down each other, but you have an easier time letting things slip, especially when you're dealing with. I mean, that you guys are dealing with big projects, and
Well,
it's not just that. It's the lives of 200 other people that your decisions are affecting.
yeah, well, no, that's a good point because I remember before Brady and I had our actual roles and responsibilities. We'll talk about that in just a few minutes from a family perspective.
Hmm.
Before we had that, I've always been in our family one. I never want to do anything. I'm not a negative person anyway, positive
No,
about
you are
anything.
not. Sarah and I joke that sometimes we wish you would just be negative about something. It's that why I always joke that you and our director of business development are the same. Like sometimes I'm just annoyed or mad, and I'm like, can you just be negative for a second, just
It's
for a
just
second?
honestly, it's just not in my DNA. I mean,
Which is good.
I'm
It's
sure
good.
I am from time to time, but most people that are around me that would probably pick
You're
it up
not.
faster
You're
than
not
somebody else.
petty. Your wife and I joke all the time that we're petty people. So.
Yeah, but no, it's with me and him. It was easier for me because when we were in family meetings, I never
Uh-huh.
wanted to cross the line to upset him. And I'm not saying he ever did that to me on purpose, but
Yeah.
it was a little harder now that we have well defined. We use a program called, which you're very familiar with, Working Genius,
Hmm.
and we have implemented that in our program, our company. If you have not done that, you can go to workinggenius.com.
It's
Um,
super easy. It's
it,
so
it
fast.
and I want to say the fee to do each employee profile is like 25,
It's like
$30
20.
a
It's
person.
literally $20. And then, but I mean, we really do put it into practice. And what's crazy is how well your brother remembers what everyone is. I keep it on my phone
Yeah.
so I don't forget what I am.
Oh,
Uh,
he'll ask you.
he'll straight up. He won't ask you. He'll tell you what you are
Yeah.
because if you answer something a certain way, he's like, oh, that's because you're this.
And just
Because
to
you're
clarify, he
yeah.
just became a certified instructor
That's why
for
he knows
Working
so well.
Genius.
He did
So,
it today to me. He's like, well, you're an IE or whatever it is. He'll be like, well, that's why you answer that way.
but until we had that, I'm a wonder inventor, an IWWI. And basically, I'm the guy who brings the idea. Eric and I call it throwing spaghetti on the wall. We'll throw some
Hmm.
pasta at the wall, and if it sticks, we'll try to implement that. Where I used to be really bad was I wanted that idea to be implemented yesterday,
Hmm.
whereas my brother has to process it and see if it can make sense to move forward.
See, I
So,
think I'm an inventor and an enabler. So
okay,
I'm like a yes, like you tell me what needs to be done, I get it done. Which is funny because I always hear the word enabling and you think it's the
you
opposite.
you actually do. You're right.
Yeah.
But
So
until he and I actually got our lanes, we stay in our own lane.
hmm.
I'm the visionary of the company.
Hmm.
He's the integrator of the
Hmm.
company. So I come up with the idea. He
Hmm.
says, "Yep, that's a great idea. Let's run with it. Let's get the
Yeah.
team surrounded." And then he gets the team surrounded. So on and so forth. So it's just from a family perspective, it can be hard in business, but it can
Yeah.
also be easier again if you stay in your lane.
Well, and that's helped a lot too because you mentioned lanes and something big that we've thrown around a lot this year is what is your QBR? And we don't mean your quarterback
Yep.
rating. We're like, what is your QBR? What is your role? Like, what is it you're supposed to do? And like I have not been able to do it yet, but you're basically supposed to be able to define what you do in one sentence.
Right.
And so like our director of human resources, he was like, hey, my job is to find people that fit our culture and then decipher if they would be a good fit or they wouldn't be a good fit. And I
Right.
filter those out. So that's kind of his he said in short terms that's what mine is. So mine handling digital marketing and branding, that would be mine. Well, my role is to basically handle our forward facing marketing and basically publicity, public image, I guess. So I haven't fully put mine into a sentence yet because I feel like I do a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I could see that. I mean,
One
it,
man army. I joked about it today. One man army.
we were talking about before we came on to record. Some other like corporations and stuff that have
Yeah.
taken family businesses and thrived. The number one for me that comes to mind, Chick-fil-A,
I
100%,
knew you were gonna say it. I was waiting
100%,
on it.
Chick-fil-A.
You should
The
tell the listeners what your favorite thing to do and at the drive-in line.
All right, so at Chick-fil-A, me and my kids, they hate it.
It's
They
a
hate it. They
game
hate it.
for them.
So I have a I have a game we play is how many times can I get the person at the window to say my pleasure? So you ask them a question. They're like, "Hey, Matt, can I have a name for the order?" My name's Wilson. Okay, they're putting in. By the way, they're putting in the color of your vehicle and the make of your vehicle, and also when you pull around, they know who you are. And then at the very end, I'll say, "Hey, thank you for that. My pleasure. Hey, could I get some ranch? Yeah, thank you for that. My pleasure." You see how many times you can get them to say
Making those
my
people
pleasure.
work for it.
It's fun. It's fun. But no, they have figured it out. They're
They need to run
obviously
it.
a
Need to
Christian
run a lot
valued
of things.
company. They I mean, what fast food restaurant takes off on Sundays and is still you're gonna laugh when you hear this. I went for lunch there yesterday. Imagine that. I went for breakfast there this morning. Imagine that.
Just so you know, like just if you haven't yet, I'm cutting you off for a second, Benji. Grilled chicken burrito for
It's on
breakfast.
point.
You introduced me to it probably 2 years ago, and I've never eaten a chicken biscuit since then. I will not lie to you.
I'm telling you.
I've never ordered anything else other than that. And
And
then
it's
some Chick-fil-A's, they have spicy chicken.
they will. You're right. They will do spice. I can't do that, but I get it. But
So
the thing that who takes off on Sunday and they're triple wrapped around the building Monday through Saturday
that's why
to try to
they
get in.
create that supply and demand because there's a day you can't get it.
That's true. But I
So,
believe they also their higher up life is they live for Christ and everything that they do. They,
mhm.
they some people call it God's chicken. Kids love it. They get
Jesus
to have a
chicken.
good time. Jesus
Yeah,
chicken. That's it.
yeah.
So I think that's one well example, and I'm sure there's many, many, many more, but
There's
that's the
many
best one that comes to mind.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the best one because it's your favorite, and I honestly think you use it with our team all the time. That
Yeah.
and Starbucks, those are 2 things you use all the time. And also, have you noticed there's a lot of companies now, especially fast food, that will say "my pleasure."
Oh
I
yeah,
don't have you noticed that? Like,
I have.
random restaurants will say it like, "Hey, thank you." I mean, I've heard it at picking up, picking up some Happy Meals for the girls here at McDonald's. "Hey, thank you so much. My
My
pleasure." I'm like,
pleasure.
"Okay. I see what you're doing. I see it. I see you."
I got you.
So, but yeah, so they do that, but I mean, it does bring a sense of that, but I think also your family values, in that carry to making sure that you have a team that finds that. I think that's something that we talked about. It was tough because like for convention, past couple of years, our spouses have gone with us. They didn't go this year, and it was tough being there all week and not having them after we have. But one of the things we did bring up is we said, the upside is it was kinda nice to spend a little bit of time with each other because you end up kinda
Right, for
clumping up
sure.
together with the people that know each other. So, like, my wife might know 1 or 2 of the other, wives that we spend time with. So we'd end up spending time with them, whereas versus, like, Friday night, like, myself and, our director of human resources, and then I really don't know what David's full title is because it's, like, 18 words long, but he basically handles all of
He's
our
basically director of technology,
He's
and
basically director of technology, but the 3 of us haven't really spent time. We went out. Look, I'm gonna admit it, we went to a cigar shop. It was a really cool cigar shop downtown that was built out of an old church cathedral in downtown Tampa. It was one of the top ones in the nation, and we just hung out and we
yeah,
sat and we talked, and then we found out more like things that he's doing with his own. Like he has a business similar to myself. Like he wants to be able to build systems for businesses. That's what he wants to do. And so I didn't realize that was stuff he was doing. And so as he and I sat and talked more and more, I'm
mm-hmm,
like, yeah, I'm trying to do the same thing, with content creation with Google business profiles. Like I'm trying to do the same thing to help other companies.
mm-hmm.
We started talking about like what we charge. I'm like, I charge the same thing. Like that's kind of so it was just stuff like that. That the 3 of us sat and talked through, but that family atmosphere wouldn't have been there, if we had taken our families with us. So it gave us a chance to do that. But I think it's important because we have a team that feels bonded together. Because
Oh yeah,
if you're not meshing, and we've seen that this year, we've had a lot of big changes, and there's been people on our teams that we've always gotten along that necessarily have seen a little bit more clashing. It makes it harder. So being able to have that family atmosphere and find that with whatever team you're on right now. So
yeah,
wherever you're at, whether you're working full time for a church, whether you're working at a a corporation, like it's very corporate, everything feels corporate. Or if you're working, for yourself, and maybe you're working with your spouse or someone else, and you have
Yeah.
you have a small business. I think it's important to find that family atmosphere or feeling with those people you work with, because it allows you to mesh better. And if you're not, I feel like it creates more issues. So instead of worrying about the things that you need to in your business, you're now trying to worry about the relationships you have, and it just puts strain.
Yeah. Well, I mean, someone in the family, let's just say in your family,
Hmm.
has got to be the vision caster for the company. Because
Hmm.
if you're not, it gives you no direction to go, and you know how
Yeah.
that is. I mean, think of the ship that we have with
Hmm.
200 people. For us to implement a system today versus 10 years ago, it takes a lot longer today
It's
to
a
move
whole
that
lot
ship.
longer. Well, because we got to do it in one franchise, and then we have to do it in the other franchise, and
Yeah.
then
Then you
you
got to
know
have the technology to back up that, idea
Well,
or
and then
whatever.
sometimes things that may work in one franchise may not necessarily work 100% in the other.
Sure.
I mean, we want that consistency across all the different franchises that we manage, but that's the other side. So you have to be able to navigate through that and help other people that things that might not be. I mean, even today, your brother was talking to me about something, and I didn't feel like I wasn't trying. He knows I wasn't trying to make an excuse. I was like, well, we haven't done A, B, and C because of DEF, and he was
Yep.
like, well, you sound like, and he starts spitting Greg Rochelle. He was like, well, you sound like you have a barrier more than you do a solution, and I'm like, of course, that's what you would say. So, but he was talking more about that. He was like, all right, so let's figure out how to break through the barrier first, just seeing it and turning around and saying, all right, we can't do that. So that was something that, he was talking through today through those things. But that we have that relationship where he doesn't see me as me being negative, like, oh, well, we
Yeah.
just don't do that. He's seeing it like, all right, well, I understand why you see that way. Let's take a second and look at it from a different perspective and figure out how we either break through or get over. So,
Yeah. Well, I mean, this to your point. If someone's got to have the vision to push it forward, it may be a revenue goal, it may be
mhm.
a personal goal, whatever that may be. But I think the benefit of having family involved around you with your business is you kind of have the same goals as a family, right? I mean, you can. Some people can, some people can't. Let's just be real. But the people that you surround yourself with, we're going to surround ourselves with people that are better than in the role that we need, obviously, than we could ever imagine we
Yeah.
could do it. Because, I
Yep.
mean, take you for instance. You behind a camera is so much better than me behind a camera. We've talked about that on previous episodes. But
Yep.
as far as your family goes, if we're all having the same common vision, and we're working all towards the same goal, it makes it fun. I got a question for you. What was your favorite TV show growing up?
Oh gosh, man. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, hands down. Like, you can see it. Well, no, I've got them on this wall. You can't see them. It's on the one next to me. But
All
man,
right,
I got a
so
whole wall dedicated to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
so what
I can't,
made
so
what
excited for the new movie, by the way. So excited.
what ma- yeah, that's actually gonna be really good.
Yeah.
What made that show good for you? What did you like about the show?
I
This
I
is
mean,
100%
as a
unscripted,
kid,
by the way.
I don't know. I mean, like, honestly, I just loved Ninja Turtles. I mean, think about it. When I was a kid, the movie was coming out, which to me today is still a class. Which is funny because the first one was very adult like to me.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
the second and third felt more Kids Avenue. But I mean, maybe it was the theme song was catchy. I still remember having, a Nintendo, like an old school NES,
oh
playing the
yeah.
playing the first Ninja. I remember going to the arcade and playing the 4-player Ninja Turtles game. And I mean, so there was all these different pieces for me. I had all the toys. I mean, that's why I said I just need to rearrange one day and see if people notice. But I have literally all these Ninja Turtle toys on my wall right here. And then I have them in my closet. Like, I have some that I can't fit on the shelf yet.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, for me, it was just a nostalgia type thing where, I mean, I had the toys, I had the shows. So I mean, I guess it just had a lot of pieces that went together that made me enjoy watching it.
So
But I
so
mean, that
what?
was my favorite one as a kid.
So was it true? By the way, I could name Michelangelo and Leonardo.
Michelangelo, Donatello,
Donatello.
Leonardo, and the best of all
God.
four was Raphael, mostly because
Raphael.
I
He
have an
was red,
attitude
wasn't he?
problem. Yeah, I have an attitude problem. We get along.
Dang.
So, you know.
So was it true they were brothers or no? Or they
Yes,
just friends?
all four of them brothers.
They were
So
brothers, so they were a
Yep.
family.
Yep.
Okay, so I mean, one of my favorite shows growing up was Family Matters. We every Friday night
I know exactly what you're talking about.
we were going to
TGIF.
watch that, or it was Full House. That was
Boy
a
Meets
family
World.
show.
I will say that. That's one
Boy-
of the things that's been cool lately is all these old shows have their own podcast now about the show, so you can go back and reminisce. So
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know
I've been
that.
listening. So Boy Meets World. I remember that. That was a big one. Sean
Silver
and
Spoons.
I don't remember that one. Was that?
You don't. Oh
show?
man, I'm telling my
I know
age
you're
now.
much older than I am. Was that?
What about the
was
Wonder Years?
Wonder Years was great. Wonder Years was I mean, how could you not? Ben I mean, think about it. That's why I love Boy Meets World. Ben Savage, Corey Savage, so brothers. So that
I
was
love
big.
this theme song of Wonder Years. I would sing it right now, but I'm not warmed
Step
up.
by Step was a big one. That
Oh,
was a merged family. We actually started watching that a little bit on HBO, or now it's called Max, but
Yeah,
they have it on Max. We watched Step by Step, Full House, obviously,
Full House, fantastic.
but which is really cool because our daughter loved watching Fuller House, which was
It's the updated year version.
updated version where DJ is now basically Danny, and does a lot of those things. So that was kind of cool to kind of see that as well. So yeah, there's a lot of. I mean, basically every show you think about when we were younger was based on a family.
Oh yeah, matter of fact, Full House. Sarah would tell you DJ Tanner was my crush growing up. She was my crush.
She was my crush. Well, if you're watching the podcast, my daughter has
Speaking
joined
of
us.
family,
Speaking of family, this is great. So hey,
Gracie
I love you.
is
Good night.
fantastic.
She's good. So, but hopefully y'all don't see me on the video pushing back. We'll clean this out. We'll clean this. We may leave it. Who knows?
Yeah,
This is live.
That's
You need to see
fun.
it.
That's what
So,
makes it fun. It's family.
Family right here.
Here's the thing: all of those shows, okay, they all obviously everyone knows they have a plot, they have a plan, the direction they want to go with the show. They watch the kids grow up. The parents do this, the parents do that, whatever. Some of them don't have a male and a female, husband and wife.
Especially
in the
these
house.
days, I feel like you can tell the dynamic because where we are as a culture, families have changed. The TV shows have changed.
Yeah, and the thing about those shows, again, whether they had a husband and wife in the house or not, doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
The kids all seem to grow up fine. Now they didn't have these devices that kids have nowadays with all the different apps and stuff on them. And we actually sat down as kids. You probably remember this. We all sat down and would just sit around the dinner table and have a conversation, or we break out a board game or whatever, right? So the cool thing about a lot of these shows, and I go back to Family Matters, is Carl, the dad on the show, always wanted to make sure that Laura, the oldest girl, was always taken care of. And that, I mean, obviously Steve Urkel was a big play in the show, but you had Eddie, the son. Eddie was not, he was in most episodes, but it was really revolved around Laura and Steve
And
Urkel
wasn't
most of
Carl
the time.
also Carl, by the way, in Die Hard? Do I remember correctly?
I don't know.
Wasn't his name also Carl? Which, by the way, total side note, was a Christmas movie and one of the best Christmas movies ever made. So,
Yeah,
but remember,
you
he
may
was
be
the
right.
he was the main cop that Bruce Willis talks to during the entire situation in Die Hard, and I think he was Carl in that as well, which is kind of funny that it all connects.
That is, again, you probably are right because I don't watch those kind of shows, but who knows?
That was a movie, Benji. How can you not say that you watched Die Hard? Like, people will argue this. It is a Christmas movie. It was a Christmas party that started the entire situation.
Yeah, but if it wasn't like, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation or something like that.
First of all, that's because you and your wife basically vomit Christmas at the time. Like, you guys, like, it's like walking into sugarcane land at your home.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's best time of year. It's the most wonderful time of the year.
Worst part is, for our listeners, as soon as, like, even before Halloween, he'll come into, he doesn't anymore, but when we were because we have 2 offices in our Birmingham location, he would come to the main office and then turn Christmas music on in the hallway that would play all day long. And what was great is as soon as you left, your brother would always come behind you and turn it off.
You know what month? You know what month this is? This is July. We're in right now.
This is not Christmas in July. We're not playing this.
Just it is.
There. We literally just got out of sweating every time we stepped outside. It is not Christmas in July. So. But yeah, so a lot of that.
Getting back to Family Matters.
So it's
Family
all,
Matters.
I digress.
Carl Winslow. No, it's good. Carl Winslow, the dad of the show,
Mm-hmm.
Police officer, well-established man in the home, in the community. He made sure that his family was all tied together. Matter of
Yeah.
fact, had the mom living there at the home with them. He, again, great working man. Just a fantastic show. But
Yeah.
what he did was they always kept, the thing that I remember about that show more than anything, they always kept open communication in their family. Always.
Mm-hmm.
Any issue that came up, no matter what the issue was, they
Yeah.
always talked about it on the show, every show, whatever they were dealing with. Nowadays, you don't get that a lot, right? Especially
Yeah.
on TV, like you said. But what that reminded me was they were able to basically have their decision making and solving problems and whatever the case may be
Yeah.
very open. That's the same thing we do in our family business. Is we make decisions that are, because we, again, going back 10 years ago, it was easier to make decisions faster. Now we have to really think through the entire process to make sure, is that actually going to, how is this going to help us?
Yeah.
How is this going to slow our process down? Is it going to maybe hurt us down the road?
Yeah.
So just some things to think about when you're, working, or maybe church, you're in
Yeah.
church, depending on the size of your church. Is this decision now going to help us? Is it going to hinder us? Because we don't want to hinder the Lord's work, that's for sure. But as humans, we make dumb mistakes all the time. But that doesn't mean
Yeah.
the Lord gives us the vision that he puts out there to the pastor or whomever, and our
Yeah.
job is to help see that vision come to fruition.
So, question for you then, like you're talking about communicating, you're talking about how important that is. I mean, obviously you don't have to go into big details, but what about for you and your brother? What are some challenges y'all face? And how do you deal with those? I mean, those obviously you two are totally different people, but so that means you see things differently, you experience things differently, but you've obviously seen success even through those challenges, which I'm sure you guys have monthly. I mean, you probably have them weekly because you're different people,
Yeah.
but you both have the same ultimate goal in mind, and we have the same core values in mind. But what are some challenges? What's a challenge that you guys have together, and how do you overcome that?
So,
Especially just thinking through somebody that might be in your situation. Maybe they're working with a spouse or a sibling or someone like that.
yeah, I mean, the biggest challenge I think we face is, again, we're in an expansion mode right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're also not just in expansion mode, we're in debt reduction mode because we want to make sure that we protect the asset that the Lord has given us. We're never going to put ourselves out there to, see something happen that shouldn't happen, right?
Yep.
So that challenge in itself is what I would say is a good challenge. I think communication still becomes the number one. I mean, as ironic as it may seem, communication becomes the biggest challenge because now you've got more than just two voices, him and mine, being the I guess the focal point, the front run of the entire
Yeah.
team. So
Well, I think the
communication
two of you have allowed
still
more of
has
that
that.
too this year, though. Like, even though
Yeah,
that's been a challenge, is that I feel like that might be your other challenge. Is like this year, you both have allowed more conversations with your leadership team. I mean, we did that during convention. What was it? The last full day. It was Saturday. We didn't have anything. I think it was 3 or 4 of us sitting down in the hotel lobby. Like, remember, we were an hour ahead, so most of us were up early. So we're sitting down there at like 6 o'clock in the morning, drinking coffee and talking. And your brother just asked us. He's like, I believe it was me, and 2 others, and he was like, "So, what do you guys feel like was important from this? Like, what did you get from convention?" So we talked through some things. We
mm-hmm.
talked through some of the workshops we did. We talked about what we liked, what we didn't like, what we thought could be better, what we thought was great. But we were very open with them about going back, and we both, we said a few things like, "Hey, I think we've got to be better about this as a team, and we need to do this." Or, one of the cool things we brought up is we said, "Hey, we need to have like a 2 or 3 day retreat, just our leadership team, the strategic planning, so we can be together and mesh."
Yep.
And he was very receptive to those things, which, it always makes you nervous to tell Brady what you think you should do. Cause I mean, he feels like he always, not that you don't, but he feels like he literally always is 10 steps ahead of you.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, you know what
but
that
he was
is?
being prepared and being up at 4:30 every morning with every email that I get before I even finish my workout.
Well, no,
Because he's really good about that.
You're partly right, though.
Yeah.
Okay,
He's
but
up every day at 5 o'clock, every day. I get emails from him, and I know he's up working already.
I would say this though.
He's hustling.
Another big challenge is not just communication, but a huge challenge for business owners is releasing control. Right? Because there's two things that our father always taught us. If you'll keep your eye on these two things in family business, in business in general, your culture of your company and your checkbook. He called them the 2 C's. So you don't ever want to release the culture. You just want people to adapt to the culture, right? Fit the culture. The checkbook, we're never going to give a signature access to anyone that does not have the last name Wilson, period. Okay. But to release control is really what I mean by decision making. How are you going to, because we've always made the decisions. Well, now that's filtering down to what you were talking about with our team. He's trying to get you guys to think about how would you do this moving forward? Because we've talked about this on a previous episode. No one is ever going to do it like you, the owner or pastor or leader, is going to do it. It's not going to happen. So we got to get that out of the way. But if we get to the end result the same way, I think we talked about this on the balance and burnout episode. But by the way, if you haven't listened to that, go back and listen to it. It's one of our most viewed or listened to podcasts. I
feel like a lot of people deal with it, so it's a good subject matter.
Yeah, but I mean, it's releasing the control within limitations, right? Obviously, you as the business owner or the manager or the leader still have the right to change it, but you're releasing it. And I think that's a major challenge.
Well, I feel like that's been the biggest thing from me, in my perspective, that we've learned is relinquishing control and admitting you need help.
That is correct.
That's it. Like, so your brother's in this big C12. He told me it's kind of almost like a master's level type business course for believers.
CEOs and lead managers of companies.
Yep. And he said it could be people that range from that do $1 million to $2 million a year, to people that are doing anywhere from 50 to 60, 70, 80 million a year. So it's a wide array of business owners. And I was kind of shocked. Like, he called me one day, and he didn't call me. He called me to his office, and he had a pamphlet. He's like, "Hey, I need you to look this over." And it was his curriculum for C12, and it was all on digital marketing. And he was like, "Hey, he normally doesn't do this, and he never does. He'll always tell you, hey, I'll let Adam answer that question. Adam's the expert in that. He'll do that." But I mean, he pulled the pamphlet out, and he was like, "I don't understand this." He said, "Yesterday, this is what all of it was about." And it's cool because our general manager of Birmingham is also in it, but a different group. And it was fun. That same week, he texted me, and he's like, "Hey, can we go to lunch? I need to talk to you about some stuff in my C12 digital marketing." I'm like, "Oh, you must have talked about what Brady's talking about." And so we ended up not talking about it at all. We ended up just catching up. But that he sat down, and so we went, and so we met the next day for like an hour and a half, and we just walked through it. And he was like, "Why do I need to have LinkedIn?" He was like, "I don't understand it. Why should I do this? Why should I do that?" And he said, "Everybody."
Is that why he's been posting more?
That's why he's been posting more. We sat and talked for like an hour and a half about LinkedIn. And, I joked with him that he needs to hire somebody to handle social media, but I think he's trying to look at me and be like, "No, that's part of your job. You got that."
Oh, gosh.
I told him I'm already doing yours. I was like, so he was like, "Well, if you can do Benji's, you can do mine." I'm
sure,
like,
yeah.
I'm like, "Guys, it's okay. Let me just add a 7th, page to manage. It's cool. I got this." Because he immediately jokes. He was like, he'll always joke to me. He's like, "Oh, are you too busy with the podcast? Is that what it is?"
Oh,
I'm
gosh.
like, all the time. He gets me running. But yes. So that's one of the reasons why I've been posting more, because he was one of the only business owners in a C12 that wasn't using it. But he's not a social media guy.
Right.
And so that's one of the things we talked about. And it was just cool to see him that's why I said the theme this year has been, relinquishing control. But I also feel like it's admitting you need help. Because, I mean, he does not admit that. And I'm not saying he's prideful. He's normally, he'll figure it out himself before he ever admits he doesn't know something.
For sure, yeah.
And so that was him. And he was like, "I don't understand what the point of this is." And so, but that's because he's focusing on more important things other than making connections on LinkedIn. He's worried about, the company, and he's worried about, the business and the numbers and, the all that stuff. So it was just kind of cool to see where he's kind of gone this year. So we sat and talked about it and talked about things. He gave me a hard time today. He's like, "Hey, when are you going to give me the pictures from our cruise so I can post that I enjoy spending time with our team?" I'm like, I'm trying to get to it. I'm trying. So,
No, and kind of shifting forward in our topic today. I mean, what does a work-life balance and flexibility look like, right? We were talking about this earlier, that in a family business, having to be involved every single day in the company can get exhausting, especially as you're growing it, right? But the good thing is, the more you grow, the more other people will grow alongside you as well, or you hire talent in your business to be able to help you propel and move forward. I think that what we've been able to accomplish the last few years as a team has allowed me to be able to back up from the business, and Brady now as well, to be back up from the business and really have more of a healthy work-life balance.
He's really done that this year. I feel like if anything he's done different, it is to move away from being in control. I mean, it's good because we've joked with him like, Brady, take Fridays off, because he what was it? Steve was telling us that that he's our GM in Birmingham, but he was telling us he remembered back in the day that your dad took off every Friday.
Oh yeah.
He would do a half day. He would work every other day.
By the way, that was the last 2 years he worked too.
Yeah,
So
that's what I'm
just make-
saying. Not all the time. He said, but he remembered every Friday he would leave before lunch, and he and your mom would go to a movie.
Yep. Well,
They did it every Friday.
What's helped us?
That was as he started progressing though, and handing things off to you guys, which is, I feel like that's what you and Brady have both done this year though, is because it does feel like we have a family team, but you've built that family. Let's just remind that it's not something that happens overnight. It feels like we built that. I mean, even 5 years ago when I first came here, none of these type of feelings were here. Like we didn't. I mean, I feel like we've meshed so much more now, but you guys know now you can do that. And even Brady's kind of given me at times. I mean, I still run everything by him, but he now allows me to like sign the contract.
Yeah.
Like I'll send him the contract, show it to him, and he's been really good. Like we just signed a new contract for our digital marketing that we do with the company, and we walked through that, and he basically was like, he let me run the whole thing. So we went through and we looked at what we were going to do with if we're going to change the budget or not. And he just said, what do you want to do? And I just listed, I was like, I don't want to do this. I think it's a waste of money. I don't think we need to spend more here. I think we need to cut the budget here. I think we need to move up here. And he was like, run it. And that's all he was. And but that I can tell you a year ago, he was ready to end what we were doing. But again, another podcast, but that was more where we're tracking our data.
Right.
And we can show real time dollar to dollar stuff. So when he saw the return we were actually getting, but that's where I feel like he's relinquished that, because he knows now, he's like, okay, Adam has it. He's in control of it. And he knows if I ever feel like anything's shifting the wrong direction, I'm going to let him know immediately, like, hey, what do you want to do?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And go from there.
It was funny because Sarah and I were talking about this just a day or two ago, that when we got married, literally the week after we got married, I was gone to a hurricane cleanup for a month.
I remember talking about this.
And we were, now today's world, I'm able to, from time to time, work from home. You guys have been pushing me to do that too. And I'm very blessed. You guys allow me to do that with the company. I'm very blessed to be able to spend more time with Sarah and the kids. But we still keep the grind going, even if I'm at home working, we still keep the grind going. And that healthy work-life balance, to be able to not feel like, man, Adam, I remember going to Disney one year, and I had to open the computer up in the mornings, spend 2 or 3 hours working, and then go to the parks, on vacation. Well, now when we go on vacation, I don't have to do that as much. I can actually, it's almost like being an employee. When an employee takes time off, they're off the clock. That's it. Right.
Well, we purposely joke about ignoring you. Like we have what you don't know, and I'm just probably going to admit it to you here. We have a group that you're not in. So when you do message us when you're on vacation, we talk about what needs to happen without you being involved, and then we just ignore you.
Yeah, so a lot of times I'll text the group, just so everybody and the listeners know. I'll text the group,
and then you'll text us separately if we don't answer.
Yeah, I'm like, what is the deal? Where is it? But
just so you know, we see your message. I get it. We are ignoring you.
But that's the good thing now about having, in a family business, having a team around you, to be able to have that healthy work-life balance. And honestly, it gives us flexibility because when Brady's gone, if people need, I'll tell them contact me. Now the good thing is most people won't because they play their role well,
Yeah.
or vice versa. If I'm gone, then they've got him there still too, so we can make it work for both parties, and it's really nice, really
But
nice.
look, if you both, I know y'all talk about all the time, like one of our core values is if you treat your team and with love and respect, then they're going to work harder for you. But we also, us as a team that works for the Wilsons, we know that when you and Brady are happy, things are easier.
Yeah.
Especially Brady. Brady scares me when he's not happy. So,
Well, I've known my brother his whole life, right? I've known him 42 years now, and he's very. The last 2 or 3 years, he's really opened up more to letting some things go, which is great for him.
He was letting loose. He felt very un-Brady like at convention, like just joking. That's why I still think Billy Bobby Brown was fake because I feel like he's messing with me. All right, we're gonna come back to that.
It
She's
is
fake.
100% true.
I feel like
wish he
Brady
would
cut
believe
loose.
it.
He's like, man, I'm gonna run this joke on Adam until he doesn't believe us. But he was much more loose, and he was very. I mean, what was hilarious, Benji, and if I remember, I'll drop it in the podcast so you guys can see it. But we're sitting at dinner at the awards dinner the last night, and I get a random picture from Brady, and he takes a picture of me just sitting there like we were waiting for our food, and he sends it to me. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, to see this, hey,
You
listeners, to
never
see
do
this, you're
that.
gonna have to go to YouTube to watch. We're on YouTube, so you can check it
So
out.
I'll have to remember this. But yeah, he just sent me this random picture, and it's just, and literally for those of you watching, this is me right here. We're waiting on our food. I'm just kind of sitting there, and I'm like, and he sends me this picture like over somebody, and I look over, and he's like, hey, and he's just waving.
Yeah, but see that what that's done is it's
it's just
letting
not him.
he was
It's not what I've known.
letting go because it's good for him. You guys are have the trust to run the company. We're all moving in the same direction. And
Yeah.
if I could give any kind of tip or strategy, okay, what is it like to have a effective work-life balance within a family business? Trust each other, trust the process, trust your team. You have invested in. Think about this. We've kind of changed the script a little bit. We should have been doing this a long time ago. We have made an investment not only in this company, but we're investing in people to help make this company better. So if you're going to spend the money to invest in employees, that's why we talked about a few episodes ago, most businesses do between $750,000 and $1 million a year because the owner in the seat is doing everything. Well, once you get over that point, you have to have a team surrounded to be able to take it to the next level. So if I could give any advice, tip, strategy, whatever you want to call it, surround yourself with people that are better than you and watch what happens. The Lord will do his thing. Again, you got to trust him. You got to follow the process, but everything else will work out.
It'll work. I promise you. I mean, that's one of the things that, I've had opportunity where people have reached out to me to do different things, and I haven't taken it or done anything because I've always told them, I'm like, babe, nobody treats me like Benji and Brady do. And I was like, the only reason I have the skill sets and the crafts I have now is the opportunity they've given. But that's because y'all poured into our company. And I can tell you that's the resounding phrase that you hear. I mean, Leo and I've talked about that. Leo's like, man, I know I could do, could probably make more, do something here, whatever. But he was like, to me, it's quality over quantity. Like, the quality of the life I have working for the Wilsons is like nothing else I've experienced.
Yeah.
And
we appreciate you saying that,
and that's what it is. And it's not just, it's not just something you're trying to say just because we're on podcasts and doing it, but that's the resounding thing that we've talked about. And that's the resounding thing you hear from everybody you work for is that because you have created that family, that in an era where everything is about money, because you have created a family, to me, it's like, could you make more doing something working for a massive corporation? Yes. But then you're working for something that I feel like doesn't truly have a heart. It's a bottom line company.
Sure.
And to me, those aren't the type of companies that are training you to be, not just be better, but for in your position, but just be better as an individual. So I think that's a big thing too when it comes to that. So if you're somebody that's in that place right now, like look at what company you're in. Whether again, it could be a corporation, it could be a nonprofit, it could be a church. it could be a small business, an LLC, whatever it is. Look at what you're doing right now. Look at the people that are involved in what you're doing. And if you have something where you don't get along or you're having that, whatever, find a way to fix those things, because having that feeling of family will go a long way.
Yeah.
And I promise you, it'll help. It'll put you in a position to be successful.
Well, I want to give you two other small tips. The second one would be, and then I'm going to share the most important one last, but the second one would be business owners, managers, leaders, listening, watching. Thank your employees every day, every chance you possibly get.
You do it so much. We joke, listeners, we joke with Benji all the time that he says it like he is.
It's almost like my pleasure.
It's what it is. I told somebody one time, it was almost to a point, Benji, that you are so good at doing it that I wish you weren't good at doing it, that sometimes I wish you would be, I don't want to say negative, I wish you would be harsher on the projects that we complete, because there are times I've always joked about, I'm like, I feel like I could make something in crayon. Benji's like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
But to your point, it's better than I would ever do it, so I might as well go with it.
But be hard. Tell me, like, you see, the thing is, you know what our level of excellence is, so now you can use that and say, all right, this is below what your standard is. So that's where I'm joking with those things. But you do say it a lot, and it does. We make sure, sometimes you say it so much I don't know how to respond to you because you say it all the time. But
yeah,
I mean,
but I mean it every time I say it.
But it adds. I will say, and I'm telling you that because I feel like it does add value to what's going on.
Yeah, and I mean, again, thanking your employees is probably one of the most valuable things, because a lot of times they don't get that, a lot, and it's just important to let people know where they stand in your company. Evaluations are important and whatever else, but just a simple thank you goes a long way. And the third one, which is probably the most important piece of people don't think about in a family culture, family business. For me and my brother, and I'm going to speak for me, and I know I could probably speak for him because I know his family situation as well, obviously. But for me, my wife allows me to be able to do what I do best for our family, not just the business, but our family to be successful. And I can't thank her enough. I probably get emotional thinking about it, but I can't thank her enough, because what she does at home, we're very blessed that she does get to work from home, with making sure the kids get where they need to go and whatever, and I pitch in where I need to. But we're very blessed that she's able to do that, and for her to be able to have that freedom, I guess you'd say, Sarah, thank you. I love you. You mean the world to me. But owners, managers, if you're able to do that, thank your wife, because I don't get to do that enough.
Yeah.
And again, I don't mean that if you're a wife and you have a husband at home or whatever, thank your husband, because that stuff can go a long way
thank
too.
Your spouse at the end of the day.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's just another tip. We always think about business. We don't really think about the business we have at home. And so that's important. That's important too.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that was a good one. Hopefully y'all enjoyed it. I mean, look, y'all got a full solid hour. We talked to a handful of people at conventions that their only complaint was that it's not weekly. I said, look, we're working on it.
We're going to try to make that happen.
We're trying to get there. It's a process. So, shout out to Will Andalusia, one of our partner. He talked to me. He's like, man, I love it. I'm enjoying it. He's like, I do have a complaint. And I was like, oh man, oh gosh, he's not going to like it. And then he was like, I just want it more. I need it more.
You guys help share this, share the post, share the YouTube, share the links out, with a friend to listen, subscribe, whatever. HigherUpPodcast.com. It help us out. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, look, hey, before we get ready to go, let's pull through here. Let's see what we can find.
We're getting more reviews, man. That's awesome.
Get more reviews. And let's see what we can do. Let's roll through here. I'm trying to get to them. Hey, here we go. On the Phoebe Green. Here we go. Eric,
how about
director of business development. His daughter said, "I love the content these guys are delivering. Can't wait to watch this podcast take off. Keep it coming." So Phoebe, thank you. We appreciate the Green family. They're awesome.
Very much.
But yeah, so we appreciate it. We need some more reviews so we can read through these. We got a couple other ones that we can get through. But we appreciate y'all doing that. You'll hear it in the outro, but just so you can hear it live, don't forget, leave us a review, 5 stars on Spotify. Maybe you're watching right now on YouTube. Make sure you like it, share it, subscribe. I'm just gonna throw it all at you, like my daughter always says.
Oh, yeah.
She runs around all the time.
Hit the like button. Click
hit the
on
like
the bell.
button, subscribe. So, anyways, good show. Enjoyed it. This will be a good one. We'll get the next one. Hopefully, we're gonna have some guests coming up.
Yeah.
We'll get ready to announce some of those. I did talk to 1 or 2 people at convention that I think would be great to give on. I'll give you one of my first ones. I hope we're getting ready is a good
Roy?
buddy of mine, Roy Adcock. Hopefully he listens. Man, hey, he's amazing. He's one of my best friends at SERVPRO headquarters. He just has a lot of good insight.
Oh, yeah.
We could talk to him about what it's like working a job and then coming back real quick. So
throw that out there. 60 days.
60 days. I hope he listens to this and sends me a text message. But anyways, hey, as always, we love you guys. Thank y'all for listening. Y'all head out and have a higher up life. We'll catch you next time. Hey, Benji and I want to take a moment and just thank you for listening to the Higher Up Podcast. We really hope you enjoyed today's episode and just learned some valuable insights to help improve your own life. Hey, if you found today's episode helpful, we would be grateful if you could take a moment and rate us 5 stars on Spotify. Or if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, we just want to know what you think about the show. Either way, when you leave us a review, you're helping us grow our network and reach more people with our message. Remember, our mission is to empower you in every aspect of your life, and we're thankful for your support. We've got new episodes of the Higher Up Podcast dropping every other Thursday, so take a second and turn on notifications to stay in the loop. Make sure that you follow us on your favorite social media platforms to stay connected with our community. We just want to thank you again for listening, and we look forward to having you join us again on the Higher Up Podcast.